We have with us today Sandy, Utah Mayor Monica Zoltanski. Monica, in her past life, has been a small business owner, a former prosecutor, an outdoors woman, a grassroots activist, an animal lover. She was born and raised in northwestern Ohio, and I was lucky to know her when she worked for me as a law clerk in the mid 1990s when she was at the University of Toledo Law School. Now, it was obvious that Monica was going to be successful. Her intellectual ability and her tenacity were very obvious to anybody. But I think what makes her really successful is her pleasant personality, her ability to get along with others, and her emotional intelligence. Thanks for being with us today, Monica.
Thank you, Chuck. And my real claim to fame is that I'm a former law clerk of the famous Charles Court. So,
Yeah,
Toledo, Ohio. That's where I got my start. And I thank you for that. It's so nice to be here today. Thank you for the invitation.
sure, thanks. So let's first talk about your family and growing up in Toledo. Your dad, your mom, all your brothers and sisters.
Yeah, so I'm number nine of 10 kids. I grew up in Maumee, Ohio, and we lived kind of out in the country. When I grew up, we were the furthest ones, almost the furthest ones out on our bus route. I went to St. Joe's, Maumee for grade school and Notre Dame Academy for high school and graduated. Um, so from a big family, we always had a lot of fun in our, the homestead there at the Zoltanski homestead on Coda Road. Uh, I think my parents moved this before I was born when they started having a number of children. They needed to move to the country. They said it's so nobody could hear the screams because we are really loud, really loud. But one, I think the key factor I attribute to my success in life is growing up in a big family and learning the value of hard work, thrift, and also working together with others. So you can imagine there's always a wide range of opinions and who's wanted to get things done. So you had to build, strategic alliances. We didn't call it that way when I was young, but you had to have some allies in life for um, support and to get anything done or to get your opinion advanced. And from a very early age, when people came to know me, teachers or other adults in my world, they always said, Monica, you're going to grow up and be a lawyer. We can just see it. And I didn't know that I saw it at the time, but after high school, I went to Marquette University in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and studied journalism and communications. And then a very definitive experience in my career was working for a United States congressman in Washington, D.C. I worked in the congressional office of a congressman from Milwaukee, Jerry Kletchka. And I worked there for 3 years and it really opened my eyes to what can be done, setting policy and who was setting policy. And it was typically people with the JD. So I decided to back to Toledo, and I got my law degree at the University of Toledo and got a great legal education and the experience with lawyers like you and government opportunities that just really launched my career. I moved to Utah after law school and sat for the Utah bar, and I've been a practicing lawyer since 1996. I've been a licensed attorney, and I was in a small solo firm for most of my private practice, and then worked as a city prosecutor for the city of Sandy. And I've always just relied on my legal training and my experience as a litigator to help me in business life. So that's kind of a quick history, but I definitely attribute my drive, tenacity, and work ethic to the lessons that I learned growing up in Toledo and living in a big family, and also the education that I got from the Notre Dame nuns in Toledo, and the accountability and just the diligence and the discipline of my education and background.
Talk a little bit about being a small business owner and the type of businesses you own, because that's really unique.
Well, the first business I owned was a law firm, and nothing in law school really prepares you for the business of being a lawyer. And so I learned very quickly that, you can spin yourself out and work 70, 80 hours a week and make less than you're paying your secretaries and your paralegals. And I definitely had that experience early in my career and learned very quickly the efficiencies of scale and also where your time is best spent. So that was an eye-opening experience because I came out of law school with a lot of student loan debt. I paid my own way through college and law school, and it was it wasn't long before I realized I needed to work smarter, not harder. So that was my first business experience. And then being in a really challenging career where you're dealing with high conflict cases, high demand clients, I needed something to counteract that and to give me a creative outlet. And I am a bit of an adventure. I have a very creative and outdoorsy side to me. So, as a side hustle, they call it now, I started a little antiques business on the side. First, had a little antiques booth in the downtown antique mall. So I would go to court and have my trials, and then on my lunch break or after work, I'd stop in and zhush up my inventory at a little antique booth. And then pretty quickly, my sister was living in Utah at the time. She and I started like flowing past all the sales records of the antique mall, and people started saying, "When are you going to open a shop? You really need to do an antique shop." Well, here I am, full time lawyer, and I was prosecuting for Sandy City, and I had no time for an antiques business, but I have my sister Helen had some time and also talent for merchandising. So together we opened our first antiques business, and it very quickly took off. And so as my antiques business and my entrepreneurial efforts were taking off, that gave me a taste of the good life, I guess you could say, and having instead of having like long-term high conflict cases day in and day out, eating nails for breakfast as a litigator, I had this really refreshing experience of having a creative outlet, having people that I interacted with were really satisfied after dealing with me, like they'd had a good experience, buy or sell something really beautiful. And it was a really fun transaction. So as my antiques business kind of grew, I spent more and more time going toward the light. And now I call myself a recovering lawyer as I am still licensed to practice, and I've always kept that current. I found a real niche and a knack for entrepreneurship. So I've had a series of antique shops in Sandy and Salt Lake City that have proven to be pretty successful. And what is success? Fun for me. If you enjoy what you're doing, if you're motivated to spring out of bed in the morning, and you have the opportunity because of your profession to do what you want to do in life, that to me is success. And I feel like I've had a very successful career. Exploring and exhausting my interest in litigation and being an attorney, an entrepreneur. And now the evolution of my career has drawn me more toward public service and also now being in government. And I'm so proud to be the mayor of the seventh largest city in Utah, Sandy, Utah.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about your hobbies. You're pretty open about your hobbies, and you have like neat hobbies. Some people have hobbies, and you wonder like, why are you collecting matchboxes or whatever like that? Tell us a little bit about your hobbies.
So I didn't have a lot of time for hobbies when I was practicing law. How I was practicing law, it wasn't until I kind of hit a stage in my career where I really had to take stock of what I want to do, where I want to spend my time, and who do I want to be with. But as I've matured and my interests have come more into focus, again, kind of at a pivotal point in my career, I took inventory. Do I want to be in the courtroom or do I want to be outside doing other things? I got into horses. I grew up in Maumee, and I always rode my neighbor's horses. I was one of those kids that used to hang around the barn and pester the horse owner until, doing chores and making myself probably a nuisance until they finally acquiesced and said, "Okay, you can hop on." So I had some really generous neighbors who allowed me to take their horse to 4-H and to do trail riding around Monclova. And So I guess that just sealed my love for horses, and I went for a very long time until I had a horse in my life again. About 15 years ago, I decided, okay, now I'm ready to really, explore the outdoors and to explore Utah. I moved from the flatlands of Ohio to this beautiful mountainous country with national parks, and it's just an immense world of incredible outdoor opportunities. And so I decided, am I going to just read about it or see other people's Facebook posts about them going on these adventures, or do I really want to be part of it? So I got my first horse and got connected with the riding club and Backcountry Horsemen of Utah and the Salt Lake chapter, and just went out on these incredible adventures. I never drove a pickup truck or was really until I was 40 years old. And now I'm all into horses, truck, trailer, backcountry, mountain experiences. And most importantly, I've built a great network of friends and relationships of people who are really concerned about, as I am, about preservation of our open space. And so the long and short of it is horses are what really led me into politics. In Utah, we are the strongest economy in the nation is Utah. We are a fast growing intermountain western state. People love to come here for the same reasons I did, which is to experience that outdoor lifestyle. And also people from Utah tend to stay in Utah. So we are experiencing this immense wave of growth, internal growth, infill development. And every year it seems there's more and more pressure on our communities for growth. And that's high density housing, and it's roads and transportation and building out our infrastructure. And while we are in a race to keep up with the demand, it's all the more reason to be mindful of what we want to preserve from our past and the good things that we want to preserve. And so I live in Sandy, Utah, and there's a beautiful regional park called Dimple Dell Regional Park. It's a Salt Lake County park. And about 5 years ago, the county announced a plan to move forward with paving the trails in our nature preserve. And it's a 650-acre park that runs east to west right through the heart of our city. And it's just absolutely incredible. It's like a mini Yellowstone right in the middle of this urban, suburban community. And people come there for this sense of solace and retreat. And it is the last place in the entire Salt Lake Valley with a over 2 million population center there where you can ride a horse. And it's absolutely undeveloped. It's unique in the nation. I don't think there's anything like it in a great population center like Salt Lake Valley. So the county announced a plan to start paving the park, and I knew that would be the beginning of the end for that sense of solace and retreat. And I led a neighborhood group. It turned into a huge community campaign to convince Salt Lake County leaders to reverse that decision. It was a $4 million project that was slated for bid and construction. So I became aware of it right at the tail end when it was ready to launch, basically. And I learned about it, and I said, oh, heck no, we cannot move forward with this. We will destroy the park, and it will be the beginning of the end for this whole surrounding Dimple Dell area where I live, that will bring the big crush of development on its heels. So I organized through a Facebook page, just started talking to people and then going out into the park every night after work on my horse or walking my dog. And I would talk to them, hey, we've got to call these county leaders and convince them to reverse this decision. And it was just like a Herculean effort. Nobody thought it could be done, but everybody kept saying, well, somebody should do something. And over for weeks, I was talking to people about the urgency and to get involved and why we need to do this and work together and to hold our elected officials accountable for this decision and how it was going to change our whole community. And everyone agreed that it was somebody needed to do something. And then they kept saying, well, why don't you do something? I'd never done any community organizing or grassroots organizing before, but it became clear we needed a leader and we needed a spokesperson and somebody that would go into the offices of our local decision makers and say, take a fresh look at this. This is not what the community wants, and we elect you and we can help re-elect you. So that I led this campaign called Keep Dimple Dell Wild and did a petition drawing again from my legal training and my legal writing experiences, distilling the myriad of reasons why this should not proceed, this pavement project. And within a few weeks, I got thousands of signatures online and in person. We got about 10,000 signatures and delivered them to the Salt Lake County Council and to the Sandy City Council. And there was so much local support in the months of that campaign with organizing events in the park. We had signs all over the whole Sandy community, had "Don't Pave the Park" signs, T-shirts, bumper stickers. And we were going to city meetings and requesting or insisting on meetings with our elected officials. Sandy City said, well, you got to talk to the county. And the county said, well, Sandy City wants it over there. So you guys got to get your, wires straight. And we just were very, very persistent and had just launched this very intense campaign. We even had an alpaca kissing booth to do a fundraiser so we could continue printing brochures and bumper stickers and marches in the park and all kinds of education experience, focusing on the natural history, the archaeological history, because it's rich with archaeological and local history from the native peoples who lived here, as well as the early Mormon settlers who lived here, and bring all those elements together to say, this is a unique space, a unique experience, we need to keep it preserved. Fast forward, we had finally had gained enough momentum where our elected officials did take a close listen and, to their credit, reverse the decision to pave the park. So hurrah, the park is saved. And when you come and visit Sandy, Utah, I'll take you to Dimple Dell Park and we'll go for a walk or a ride on my horse on these beautiful wood chip trails. The views are absolutely exquisite. The experience is quiet, slow, deliberative. It is such a beautiful nature sanctuary. And I hope that it remains that way for generations to come. So yeah, that was a big win for the people, and it was very quick with the help of social media and online petition, our campaign, and we raised a lot of money to make our case. And then I thought, okay, things will die down, quiet down. I'll go back to my law practice and my business. No, then my phone really started ringing because people could see I was tenacious and organized and could get things done. And so my neighbors started calling me saying, hey, I need a stoplight over here, or there's a problem with a storm drain over here, or there's a cause. And I said, oh, call down to City Hall. There's people there that can help you. And then pretty soon I thought, well, maybe I should be that person in elected office and see if I can get some good things done to balance preservation and our growth. I felt that after my grassroots campaign for Dimple Dell, I was very dialed into my local community and had a very strong contact with the people of Sandy and had developed a lot of credibility and trust with the preservation community. And I had a voice that obviously needed representation in our local government. It was what was missing. So I ran for city council in 2019 and was elected to the Sandy City Council. And then in last year, 2021, I ran for mayor. The incumbent mayor decided not to run for re-election, and it was an open seat. And so that always brings out a lot of challengers in any election when there's an open seat. But again, I felt through my representation on the council, I'd learned a lot and could help my whole entire city and expand my reach and expand my message for quality growth and managing the growth challenges that we face in Sandy. So, gosh, put a quarter in me. I could just talk about all the great things in Utah and Sandy and all the opportunity. But gives you a little bit of history of the progression of my story.
What I find interesting is you took a bad situation and you turned it into an opportunity, and it basically gave you a platform for your life. So, I mean, the original bad thing that happened to the community turned out to maybe one of the best things ever in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely focused my purpose, brought together my skills, my legal skills, understanding of policy and issues, legislation, and then also my community network. I joke, campaigning or being mayor is like these three things: running a marathon, that never ends. Uh, Studying for the bar exam, so you have to have just mental acuity and sharpness for issues and understanding on how one issue, a change in one issue is going to affect the next. And then the family reunion, because it's about, physical stamina, being able to do the job in a big city. We're 100,000 residents in Sandy, and there's so much going on. And we're a very prominent city in Utah. So we are leaders in any planning or growth issue. Sandy is on the vanguard. So physical stamina, there's so many events that a mayor attends and plans and orchestrates. The issues, understanding of the issues and the analysis and how and government, local issues are affected by county, state, and federal issues. The legal issues that come up every single day, whether it's working with police issues or land use, business planning, community development, economic development. And then the family reunion is just absolutely knowing everybody, or being able to go into a room and full of strangers and leave as friends. So that's the most important job of being mayor, is to being able to connect with people, and then to connect people with resources.
Now talk about the red hat. I love the red hat.
Yeah, I came to the red hat kind of naturally. People always are curious about the red cowboy hat because it definitely is a symbol of my administration, my presence. I started wearing that red cowboy hat when I was going into the park after work, and it was early, kind of late winter, early spring, so short days. And I noticed when I was wearing a tan cowboy hat on my horse, people wouldn't, they wouldn't remember talking to me just the day before. But when I wore the red cowboy hat, they could say, "Oh yeah, you gave me the list of names to call from your saddlebag. I stopped and talked to your horse, Mr. Biscuit." And when I wore the red cowboy hat, people would remember our interaction. So that stuck with me. And then as I was going through the campaign, and it was just kind of a natural, it's just something that I grabbed. I didn't realize then that it would be kind of a hallmark of my leadership. And also, I think it's a symbol, the power of one person or one style or one approach, and how it can amplify. And it definitely has been, I always have a red cowboy hat within reach. When I go places as a new mayor, people might not recognize me without my red cowboy hat, but I can tell you they know when the red cowboy hat arrives, whether it's at a concert at our amphitheater, at food truck night on Monday nights, whether it's at a Real soccer game, or even a trip to Costco or the grocery store. If I have my red cowboy hat, I am on. It's an invitation to talk about how great our city is and how I can serve my community. So I always have it. I don't leave home without it these days. And yeah, people know the mayor's in the house and ready to take all comers when I've got the red cowboy hat on. And I just, I'll send you one of these, Chuck. In government, every elected official is really popular, has a challenge coin designed. And so it's kind of a symbol. That's the one side, my Sandy challenge coin, Sandy City. And on the back is my red cowboy hat, Mayor Zoltanski.
Brilliant,
So,
brilliant.
yeah, I call myself a suburban cowgirl. I didn't grow up steeped in the cowboy culture or anything, not like you see out here in Utah. But through my horses, my love of horses and the hobbies and the world, they've opened up to me. I attribute what I'm doing today to my great horses that I just love. I love the places they've taken me to that I would have never been able to experience on my own, and also the people, the community they've introduced me to that I would never have been able to connect with without them. So I'm very brand loyal. And my campaign posters last year when I ran for mayor, the red cowboy hat was all over the city, on every corner, every neighborhood. People had signs up for Vote Monica Z, because Zoltanski is not a familiar name in Utah, but people remember Monica Z. They call me Mayor Z, and I really like it. They call my dad Mr. Z all around town. The Spitzer building at the courthouse, they always called my dad Mr. Z, and so it's a little homage to my dad, who I miss so much. And was a great lawyer himself and a great role model for me.
So you still have a lot of friends in Toledo. So I wanted you to try to sell us on why we should visit Sandy, Utah as a vacation spot.
Well, I'll give you a caution. don't come and not be prepared to totally fall in love with Utah. It could happen to you. If you come to Sandy, you'll start out at the theater. We have world class. The Hale Center Theater has Broadway level performances at a beautiful theater in the Round. Sandy is known for the Hale Center Theater. For Major League Soccer, Real Salt Lake plays right in Sandy in a beautiful stadium. I'll host you at the Mayor's Suite for a soccer game. We also have great shopping, great local businesses in Sandy. And we are known as really a gateway to Little Cottonwood Canyon. So people who love to ski, of course, they're going to know Snowbird Ski Resort and Alta Ski Resort. So we are right at the base of Little Cottonwood Canyon. And our city runs east to west, and we have just an immense diversity in our city. We have working class neighborhoods to high-end luxury resort neighborhoods at the foothills. And it's a place where people, no matter what their backgrounds or what their socioeconomic status is, people come together and they stick together for their community. And we have so many wonderful events. We have a beautiful amphitheater with concerts. We have outdoor experiences. A lot of outdoor enthusiasts live in Sandy. We're a very healthy community, very active community. We're a more mature community. We have our infrastructure and our neighborhoods are built out. So that's kind of presents some of our growth challenges, is we have to now go up or do infill development as opposed to having 50 acres or 100 acres. Right now, big development opportunity in Sandy is like 3 acres. We are down to the quick on what's developable still. Nevertheless, we are perfectly situated right along the I-15 corridor, 10 minutes by car, 15 minutes by car from downtown Salt Lake City, 15 minutes and you're at the ski resorts from my house in Sandy. And there's just so much opportunity. It's a really beautiful, wonderful place. And every August we have a balloon festival and we have hot air balloons that float up. And then we have a beautiful promenade. It's kind of like the mall at Washington, like a green open space straight out from City Hall. And then they bring the hot air balloons down at night and light them up. It's called a Glow Festival. And this year we added our first drone light show. And it was a really awe-inspiring experience from lighted drones, 150 lighted drones, and they changed shapes and morphed into from our Sandy City logo and Sandy themes to tributes to our police and fire department. So good things happening here. To my friends in Toledo, if you haven't been to Utah yet, please come and stop by the mayor's office or let me know so I can host you, and be just prepared to fall in love. There's so many great things.
Thanks, Monica. I think those of us who knew you when, knew you were going to be successful, and I think you found a perfect role for your talents. All of your friends in Toledo are proud of you, and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Chuck, for the opportunity that you gave me.